talking again about On the Ground, I initially said I liked it, but I didn't love it. Fuck it, I'm changing my mind. I love this song, and I'll tell you why, and then I promise I will shut up about it. I didn't have a strong passion for it the first few days, but you know how a song can just bite you, and it can hit you in the perfect context, and it becomes a perfect song? I just had that experience with On the Ground. Particularly that line, I worked my whole life just to get it right, just to be like, look at me, I'm never coming down. That line makes me really sad. Being an idol has to be fucking traumatizing. When you're a trainee, watching people pack up and leave because they've been told that they won't make it, and being judged for how well you can sing, how well you can dance, how attractive you look, and being taught from these young and vulnerable ages that no matter how hard you work and how much you care, you might lose it all tomorrow on the basis of someone else's standards. And I bet that's how it feels to be a debuted idol. I bet that's how idols feel about their fans constantly. I mean, sure, they love me today, but what if I fuck it up tomorrow? After so much hard work, the reward isn't being released from that scrutiny and that pressure, but rather receiving like infinitely more. So many fans watching you all the time, wanting to know everything about you, but also wanting you to fit to their ideals, I guess. Your entire life becomes that trainee process, that learned sense that your personal value is based purely on what other people think. Who you are as a person only pays off if other people say it does. Being one step away from loss at all times is terrifying. You think that you'll just become untouchable as long as, you make it, she says, and they say that I've made it, but actually you just become more vulnerable. I worked my whole life just to get it right, just to be like, look at me, I'm never coming down, could also very well be about the people who've hurt her in the past. And I kept repeating that one to myself because this line is not the squeaky clean, polished line that idols feed to the public about why they want to be an idol. They say things like, oh, I want to spread my best self to the fans and perform my hardest. And I do believe that they believe those things when they say them. But this line, no, this is karma she's talking about. There is a spot in all of us that wants even with the people who've hurt us. This is saying, I want to get so famous and become so beloved by the entire world that you can't ever touch me again. I think this line is a bit about, maybe the people who've hurt her or abused her or used her, whether it's schoolmates or maybe bullies or even the YG trainers, the staff who measured her every single day against their impossible standards. But I think it's probably connected to real moments in her life with faces. And I kind of like that while this line has, maybe a sad side, there's also kind of an angry, self-protective side to it. I'm going to make you swallow your tongue, and then I'm going to pretend I don't know you, and you'll have to watch. I love this line. And then she follows it up with, but I realized everything I need is on the ground. That's a very powerful turnaround, in my opinion. Talking about hardship and pain, it can be so difficult to separate ourselves from what's been done to us. And I think for a lot of people, and maybe Rosé herself, we bully ourselves into thinking that we caused it, that we deserved it, or that the person we were at that time fucked it all up because we still feel this way. That vindictive anger that wants to protect us is also at odds with the part of pain that can't separate what happened with who we intrinsically are. It's very hard to fight that distortion. It's almost like that moment in recovery where you can remove yourself from what was done to you and forgive yourself for unfairly punishing yourself. And that's not exactly what Rosé is saying, but On the Ground openly discusses that relationship between Roseanne and Rosé in a very powerful way. She's almost trying to learn how to invite Roseanne back into her world, in a sense. She's realized it's important to love that part of herself just as much as everything else. And it is important at some point in your journey to decide, no, I didn't deserve to be treated that way, but the girl I was is still a person worth treasuring, and it wasn't her fault, and I didn't have to deny her, and I don't have to deny her now. I'm all the way out beyond my wildest dreams. I achieved everything, I got there, but On the Ground recognizes that Roseanne isn't invalid because of that. We deserve to love our past selves and our offstage selves and our hidden selves, and still having gentleness and love for that Roseanne is really powerful. And I'd like to make it clear, I'm not trying to trauma code Rosé's music or force some idea about her past into the song. That's not what I mean. I'm not trying to dissect her. So much as I think that music is what it means to each person, and this song speaks to that experience to me in these ways. This is not like a be-all, end-all hard science interpretation. This is just the way that I felt when the song kind of like hit me. The drop in the chorus and that line, "But they don't hear me though," doesn't feel empty to me anymore. It feels like release. I went to the nearest swing set around like 2 a.m. last night, and there was no one there, and it was super dark, and there were no lights, and I just sat on the swing set, and I started listening to this song while I was swinging, and I started crying. And suddenly the song sounded like a moment of peace and rest, like the diary of her self-acceptance. And you're accepting, a bit sadly, that people largely can't understand what you're trying to say. They can't hear you. But you need to choose for yourself to be okay with that, because you can finally hear yourself, and that's what matters. It doesn't matter what anyone else has to say about it, except the person who's listening to it at that moment. Music is what it is to you. That's where it's at its most powerful, in my opinion. So yeah, On the Ground is a great song, and it took me more time to figure that out. Sorry about that. But sometimes you need to sit with a song and then reserve the right to change your mind. So I hope all is going well for Rosé. I've been watching the live stages now for this and Gone, and she's just, she made it. She made it, and she chose to still care. That says a lot about who she is, regardless of Rosé or Roseanne. I think on some level she just wants us to know who she is.